going to put headphones in
Hi there,
so I can hear you a
I'm
little.
Ahsan Ali Shah, and you're watching me on YouTube and Facebook Live. How to deal with change, midlife transition, or transition in life is our topic for discussion today. And it's going to rain. It's going to rain outside, and you can see the thunderstorm. You can see the clouds, and you can hear. You cannot see it, but you can hear the noise of thunderstorm. Okay, my apologies, but yeah, I love this weather. Anyways, how to deal with change, midlife transition or transition in life. When we talk about change, change is change is something that we all are familiar with it, and some people may see change as a change in life, change in the lifestyle, change in the relationship, change in career, or change in a change in the form of your comfort zone, change of your comfort zone. On the other hand, some other people see a bit sensitive souls, like myself and other people, many other people in the group Love Virus. They see change. Uh, they see change in the form of transition, a transition in life, a transition in life from one phase to another. For instance, children, teenagers, and young ones in the early 20s and late 20s, they don't realize the significance of change and the transition. And but as soon as we enter the midlife, it becomes we become very serious. We start realizing that the little time we have got here on this planet, and it's difficult to deal with such change. Or change as a general. Uh, A change in anything is very difficult to deal with it. To discuss this topic, my guest is peace architect, and he is Adrian Sortino. He is a peace architect. He is going to join us from Footscray, Victoria, Australia. Hi, Adrian. Adrian, can you hear me? I think Adrian is having some issues with. Are you there? No, no, we can. I can't hear you. If you can hear Adrian fine, then leave it in the tell us in the comment that Adrian is fine. Adrian, you have a bit issue with the voice with the volume. Can you hear me fine? If yes, then nod your head. I can't hear you. I cannot. Yes, people cannot hear Adrian. Okay, I'm gonna put it here on screen. I cannot hear Adrian. Can you speak? Fix your. Fix your can you fix your hand-free earbuds, or I think the cable is plugged out. Okay. No sound, Adrian. Yes, no sound. No, still can't. Can you no sound till okay? What is it? Are you there, Adrian? I cannot. People cannot hear you. Okay, dear. I will reconnect. I believe this is the connection. I will reconnect. Okay, Adrian, I think is having some issues with connectivity, and his audio is not working. Oh, so I think we should start now. The topic is how to deal with change, and midlife transition or transition in life. And if you have any questions, just leave it in the comment box below. I'll answer to you, and so we should keep going. So my question is how to deal with change or change in the relationship, uh, midlife transition. Uh-huh. Many people see change as 1 second. I'm gonna this. Okay, we have got Adrian now. Yes. Hi,
It's,
Adrian.
hello, Ahsan. Is that better?
Yeah, it's much better. I can hear you perfectly.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Well, what I'll do is I'll just find a tree to sit down at. So then we're
Uh-huh.
all golden and we can have a beautiful conversation.
Yes, be sure. And now
And you,
people can hear you.
yeah, excellent,
Yes,
excellent.
yes. So
This looks nice
we
enough.
have got now people can hear you. People are here. They are sending you good vibes, saying hello, try again, frozen.
Hello.
Okay. Yes.
That was the past.
Yes.
We're now moving
Yes.
fluidly, aren't we? I just need to
Yes.
grab one thing. Excellent.
How is the
I
weather
think
there in how is the weather in Australia?
we're
I
pretty
think
lucky today.
it's I think it's summer there.
Yeah, it is summer. And
Mm-hmm.
in Victoria, or it's coming to the end
Mm-hmm.
of the summer as the seasons are changing. But in
Mm-hmm.
Victoria, we haven't had really much of a summer, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, in regards to hot days.
Mm-hmm.
We've not had that, so therefore we've just gone through. Victoria is much different than the other states. We get a lot of cold
Mm-hmm.
here throughout the whole year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Do you get snow?
no, not oh, we get snow in certain areas. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
large coverage across the whole continent. There's only
Mm-hmm.
specific areas. We do get some snow, just one day of snow, and it might
Mm-hmm.
might only be a couple of centimeters, nothing too
Mm-hmm.
substantial. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's a little bit different, a little bit different here, a little bit
Yeah, from
different.
the rest. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's good. It's perfect.
Hmm.
And mhm. So, how you see change in life? What's your perspective is about change in life, and how do you see the change in general?
Well, change in life is something that's unique to each and every one of us because
Mm-hmm.
opportunity is always there for change,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see by the dynamic of how we adjust through our lives, that we're always changing. Now, in the fact of always changing, are we changing to the betterment of ourselves by discarding a lot of that carry on in which caused the change in the first place? So everybody is facing change now because the storyline is writing a change within who we are as an identity, as a population, as humanity. And the change should always be for your own betterment. The change should always be for your own truth. So when you can establish that you're designing what you're doing by simply changing anyway, you can then take the practice of appreciating the change and doing it so gently, so your wellness isn't being tainted or tarnished or anything like that. The rehabilitation through change is simply existing in a vibration or an element of energy that is you, that encompasses the very model of you. So change is good.
Change is good. I agree. And the reason it reminds me that you were talking about rehabilitation of change, and it reminds me that the reason we don't see change, we see change when the change is finished, or we may see the change is finished. The reason we don't see change is the process. The process of change is very slow, and by the time we are going through it, we don't realize the change. But when the transition is over, the phase is gone or is near to end, then at that time we realize that the transition or the change is over. What do you think?
Yeah, that's right. And then even as the change is happening,
Mhm,
we don't acknowledge change.
mhm,
And if we do, it's always something that is that's not normal. We don't want
mhm,
change. Like
mhm,
within a workplace, like if you're a factory worker and the organization says, "Oh, we're going to make changes."
mhm,
In history, that means that a lot of people would have gotten their job dismissed.
mhm,
Yeah, or they would have had to work lesser hours. So that
mhm,
element and that word of change has always been something that's destructive
mhm,
in a consciousness. It's always something that, oh, wow, this has happened now and the change is there, or this is happening and they're
mhm,
changing this. They're changing
mhm,
where I go to work, what I do. They're changing rules. They're changing everything is a point of crippling because
mhm,
we're adjusting in accordance to what the rules and parameters are. Therefore, the change that we are
mhm,
looking at within ourselves gets denied because we are not actually accepting the change firstly, that it could be
mhm,
something beneficial for us.
mhm.
And
No,
now when we talk, yeah, go on.
okay. Okay. Now the question is, we are going through it when the change is happening. We don't realize it. Okay, it's a change. Now the question is, sometimes change in life, going through a change in relationship, or change in partner, or change when we go out of the comfort zone, then it's difficult to deal with change.
Yeah, it is. It is difficult to deal with change,
Mhm,
but having no expectation
mhm, mhm,
of anything, just of
mhm,
you being you. You can only
mhm,
control you. You can only control your emotion. You can only control your energy. Where you place yourself, that's
mhm,
either going to attach or detach. Your
mhm,
energy needs to remain resilient in the space of
mhm,
peace. And change is every day. We change our
mhm,
clothes every day. We have different meals every day. We do different things every day. Every day is the embodiment of change. And it's
mhm,
accepting it as part of the policy of your
mhm,
own internal growth, that acceptance of change becomes relevant. Therefore, that you
mhm,
are excited when there is change. You are excited that you are aware of it because your energy is able to represent within that change. And if we're changing for a purpose, for that change to then become something that we live by, a standard, then at that very inclusion of where we are, understanding that change is there, we can then encompass that in ourselves, and we can model that as we walk through that journey. We can be the very change that's required in the appreciation of the opportunity to change. So there's a lot that we just get muddled up with. We get so deluded in regards to the emotions formally that attach to those words. And as we see the world for what it is now, and we can value who we are as we see the world, we are then able to say, okay, we are the change. We are the change. We like-minded people. Ahsan, you are the change. The amount of love that you have to be able to speak about change and consider it, that is the very beacon of what we need to have as a design, for that attraction to come so fluidly from the heart in appreciation of where you're coming from.
Yes, it is very important to realize and accept the change. When the change is happening or has happened, you cannot do anything. It is because the only constant in life is change. Change is the only constant. Change is the only constant in life, and the other things, we are just variables on Earth.
Oh, correct.
Mhm,
But with those variables, we have a skill set that
mhm,
acknowledges through the storyline our worth
mhm,
in a certain proportion. Now, if you've been successful in this
mhm,
storyline that we are in now, then
mhm,
your element of worth is only
mhm,
considered by the financial aptitude in which you've got. Now,
mhm,
if you've governed it under the way of being in the truth all the time, your version of truth,
mhm,
you are in a completely different place than the person that is worthy enough within the financial realm. Because
mhm,
as we consider where the world is going, we are also considering the change that is going to be applied to all of those
mhm,
people that have never had value in their life from a
mhm,
monetary perspective because of a postcode or a country that they were born into. So
mhm,
the balance of the whole existence of humanity is something that is changing now.
mhm,
And change is like time. It is exactly the same as time, because change, as you said, is really the only part that happens continuously. And
mhm.
yeah.
Change is the only constant in life. And you said that your version of truth. And what do you mean by that? Because
Sorry.
okay, it's that you mentioned it earlier that your version of truth. Now the question is, what version do you want people to see it when they are going through or when they're dealing with change?
Okay. So the version of truth that we
Mhm,
carry as a
mhm,
unique person, as you,
mhm,
as I, my map
mhm,
is different than your map, Asan, that has led you to
mhm,
this moment. So
mhm,
if we first look at what a moment is, and
mhm,
then as that moment is assessed and reflected upon, we can see the
mhm,
change that is going to happen
mhm,
within ourselves and
mhm,
within the structure of civilization, because
mhm,
we have done this before. This isn't our first time in this storyline. Okay,
mhm,
we have lived many lives to appreciate that we are standing up now as
mhm,
the human race, and it's not
mhm,
a race. It's not a
mhm,
race. It's not something that needs us to carry on in regards to running it like a race. It's not.
mhm,
It's an existence. It's a
mhm,
collective, and it's a consciousness,
mhm.
and that is all about change.
Gary, Edwin, you said a very interesting thing that life is not a race; it is existence.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And can you elaborate a little more that We should,
Okay, yeah, of
yes, we
course,
should,
of course.
we
Because
should, okay, we should realize, and we should accept life as an existence. It's not a race, it's not a competition, or is not here to stay forever. I think the beauty of life is change. If it is going to stay the same, then we are not going to have this life today, because we know that there is always going to be the same. It is the time is going to be the same. uh, the reason we are doing it live, all the development, technological development or economical or whatever development you see it in the world, is because of the change. Those people and we know that the time is not going to stay the same. We are not going to stay the same. So we are doing it. The beauty of life is the change.
that's exactly right, Hassan. That's exactly
Mhm,
right. And
mhm,
if we only have to look at our own stories and
mhm,
start in our own unique version, and
mhm,
establish that when we were first born, within two
mhm,
minutes, and I spoke with
mhm,
Gary about this the other day,
mhm,
we had a home. We had a
mhm,
home within our mother, and then
mhm,
we came out, and within 2 minutes we were labeled all of these attachments that we had to carry on for the rest of our life. Now
mhm,
that is only to division us up appropriately, like they have, and they
mhm,
continue to do over the remainder, and they continue to do now in the division of identity of what I am versus what you are versus what the next
mhm,
door neighbor is, and put us in pigeonholes.
mhm,
So basically we have to wear that, even though it's
mhm,
an assumption. And sometimes we've gone down that journey and established certain parts of that story. It's only
mhm,
limited us to be
mhm,
subjected to the integration of society, to be
mhm,
amongst all of it. So when you go, and I'm 46, and when you go through that journey and you try to aspire to be a good person, and
mhm,
you try to comprehend the game in which you have to play by still remaining within the principle of you, that's
mhm,
very difficult. I don't
mhm,
believe that there would be any person on the planet, give us there's a 7.8 billion, that haven't
mhm,
had some form of pain or trauma in this
mhm,
lifetime.
mhm,
So when you've got that element, you've gone into that trauma, you've gone
mhm,
into that pain in
mhm,
your journey, going through the measure of practice, which is you, which is your uniqueness. And that's why it's so heavy laden across the planet, with
mhm,
mental health being the largest diagnosed disease.
mhm,
Because change was always thrown in the face of us, never to accept, just to rationalize and get on with. And
mhm,
when you don't continue to grow and evolve within the capacity of you, then
mhm,
you are only going blindly on a journey where you're trying to create something of substance for your own space, for your own personal story. And that's how they set the model up for everybody to work to,
mhm,
because you had many people running around. You had a
mhm,
lot of people, you had just as many people, all of those people were losing themselves because they were putting it into a different context on how to achieve a certain form of status within this life.
mhm,
forgetting about Forgetting about what a tree does. Yeah.
mhm,
Forgetting about what the tree does and the connection of planet and the connection of love,
mhm,
because we were born into a world that didn't know what love was in its truest identity. It had already
mhm,
been plagiarized by the time I got on this planet in this
mhm,
lifetime. And when I say plagiarize, limited to actually a certain outcome, when in the reality is love is everywhere.
mhm,
The bird singing is love. The sheep in the back paddock eating the grass, that's love. That's all they know how to do. That's what they're doing. It is just nature. It is just
mhm,
creation. And
mhm,
they brought creation in to create the demise of a culture.
mhm. We are talking live. It is also love. People are listening in the group. It is also love. People are sharing out. It's just everything. Is change is love.
Yeah, it is all. If you can accept that change is imminent. All right. In any process of living, change is imminent, and we've already discussed that it's a day-to-day notion that you carry on change throughout the day. So then, if you're emitting that change in your own journey through love, because that's all you are and that's all you value at this point, it's a great place to start. It's a great place to start because what you have is an honesty that is your truth.
We have
Because
a
we have a
comment here. We have a
yeah,
comment here.
sorry.
Check it out on the screen. You should read. Check it out. The
What has
comment.
been fed by the mind of others, but truth lies in your soul and love. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. The truth of you, when you sit silent and don't try and chase it, because they designed the chase for us. We come into this place, we went to school in young years, we had to decide pretty much quickly what we were going to be. We could exaggerate it and pull it apart, but we had to aspire to be something at a very young age. A lot of us didn't get there because we weren't academically fit for the way that the system constructed education in the limited procedure. And when all of that comes to pass, there's only you left. And it's either you in happiness or you in devastation. And if you're in devastation, happiness is always just an outlook away. Because once we shift our perception, as the devastation doesn't allow us to be crippled anymore, we detract from that. We detract from the story and the ownership of who we are in that establishment. And then we govern our own story to invigorate ourselves, because we know that the system will not allow us to heal in the proper way. They will select a certain opioid or a depression tablet and give it to you to make sure that you are just sitting there idle. There's never a full healing of PTSD. We've suffered trauma from
No,
3-4 generations.
no. The question is, we talk about truth, and there's a
Yes.
different version of truth, and what you want to believe, what version of truth that you want to believe in, and the other and the other thing is change, and change
Mm-hmm.
is love. And how do you see both? How do you
You can't
contrast?
put together both, because
Mhm,
truth is unique to the individual person. Okay.
mhm,
Now you and I haven't had conversations before, and I've
mhm,
seen limited with you on Gary, and I believe you have
mhm,
the same of me. Now,
mhm,
the whole education system
mhm,
has been a pigeonhole design. So people
mhm,
that have got to the learned capacity of understanding the theoretical process, the PhDs and everything, they're
mhm,
limited to that education for them. So
mhm,
they can't go further in the
mhm,
scope of reality to a truth that is unique to them for a justification of what they're able to find. And we'll talk about philosophy, okay? We'll
mhm,
talk about philosophy for a moment, because
mhm,
philosophy has been around for thousands of years. And
mhm,
philosophy was the art of communication to discuss why, where, how.
mhm,
That's completely gone now. It's all
mhm,
psychology. Philosophy has been stemmed into psychology, and there are other elements of philosophy, but it's not
mhm,
something that we carry unique to each of us,
mhm,
because we are a nation, we are a population of people that have never had their voice heard. So now, as the change is happening around the storyline, our
mhm,
voices now are being found, and it's turning
mhm,
to the point of anger, which is a lower
mhm,
vibration in which we resided in within that
mhm,
storyline,
mhm,
because it all stems from fear.
mhm,
We don't have the worthiness within our own self to
mhm,
justify, hang on, I don't need to do that anymore. I can step
mhm,
to the side, and I know and I trust and I believe that there are going to be other like people where I
mhm,
arrive.
mhm.
And it's true,
Uh,
because
uh,
here we
So,
are.
so you mean to say, whatever I gathered, that the change and the version of truth, they
Hmm.
are they are not the same.
Yeah, well, there's a truth that extends further than where the story is now.
Mhm,
And I talk about the story, and we'll talk about today. that they're trying to force vaccines across the planet for COVID, for the COVID disease, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now there's due diligence that's necessary within that science academia to do the right things, the due diligence to make sure that that vaccine has gone through the trials necessary so there is no damage to the people that are taking it. Now we all know that that hasn't been done. And if it has, we have not heard it yet. And they've forced this vaccine out. So we're talking about change. So within that, there's a truth that they haven't done it to the due diligence of what they're necessarily supposed to do as that organization. And then you look at why they're doing that, because what will happen once it's introduced into the mainstream is that there will be a depopulation of the planet, and we will look at the ones that they will target first, and that is the aged care, and that is the disability. Those people that they would claim in the financial world that are straining the purse strings because they're not making money to actually be part of or to help the system. Because for every dollar we make, the system probably makes $5. So therefore, they're a strain on the system. So that's where they'll first do it. And we see that they're doing it now, and we will see the people go down. Then we will see the people that haven't shifted, the ones that think you and I are crazy, and the rest of the community that sits with us. They will then go do it and be forced to do it because some of them will be in professions where it's necessary. And then there's illness and sickness, or there's suppression of the higher vibration. The highest vibration is what is imminent around this planet now. And sitting at a tree like this now, you're feeling 30, 40, 50 years of life within that tree as well as your own when you connect the two of you. And then you see a truth. And that's a truth that extends further than our physical to the connection of why we're here on this planet, to why we're going through this story at this point in time. So time is a complete elimination. Eliminate time within your own capacity.
We have a comment here. Check it out on screen.
We are the change our thoughts, actions, ourselves create, as more are unifying under peace and love. The change of peace and love is inevitable. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Because animals don't know fear. Animals in the wild don't know fear. They're cautious because they understand that there is threat, but they don't live in fear.
We have one more comment.
Yep, serendipity. How I'm seeing this now. The beautiful web of love is growing. I send this every day. Unity of all. Beautiful backdrop, Adrian. Grounding, much love. Yeah, it is. It is. It's very nice. It's very nice. So everybody knows what is happening. The system never allowed, obviously, with the division of religion, the division of science, and the division of spirituality, they never ever allowed the very embodiment of all three of them to exist harmoniously. And when you look at the narrative of civilization, you need all three of those elements. You need the religious space for the faith, not for a deity external of us, but for a faith that sits within ourselves to go through this journey and accomplish what we want to achieve. And what we want to achieve is to live within peace and to live within love. And then you look at the science, and there is proven science to say that we are physical, we are matter, but then there is also physical science to say that we are elements of light. And then that element of light is also associated within religious text. And then we go to spirituality. And spirituality is the ability to be that magic that we all are. That when we are humming like a beautifully tuned motor, we are unstoppable. We are limitless. The system never allowed the three of them to be tackled together in the very embodiment of one person. The justification that one is different to the other is only a narrative that delays an outcome of progression. So
So
it's
we
yeah.
have been talking about change in terms of the system, in terms of
Hmm.
government, in terms of macro environmental factors that are governing our life, and it is good. On the other hand, I think we should focus on change in life that we all are going through, that we all are, we change in life or transition in life is something that we all can relate to it.
Oh, most definitely, most
Mhm,
definitely. Accepting this is why all of this is going on.
mhm,
Accepting that you are so much more than you have ever seen in your life.
mhm.
These are the
And
things that
also,
we need to be. Yeah.
along with acceptance, you have to communicate with others. You have to share your thoughts, share your feelings, and accept the feelings of others, and express your thoughts and accept their feelings. So you have a mutual ground with the loved ones and the people you are communicating with around you.
Well, there's the element now where a lot of people are in that element. They're in faced with a lot of confusion. Okay,
Mhm,
in where to turn, where to find support, where to
mhm,
actually find the answers to the questions in which they are seeking.
mhm,
Okay, and the moment that you start to change in
mhm,
regards to your own identity and seeing things in a different light, seeing
mhm,
your worth in a different light, you then you then get excited. And
mhm,
that's the perfect part of all of this change, because once you're excited, the vibration that you're carrying in that excitement starts to
mhm,
sit and resolute within you. Okay,
mhm,
it's not so flippant, but
mhm,
don't be so forced or rushed to go and engage with people, because what
mhm,
you're actually doing at that point in time is you need to nurture that capacity of where you've just found. So it
mhm,
is endless, it is limitless. It is not just one topic to talk about, it is the whole entirety of the whole gamut in which we live amongst.
mhm,
The justification of speaking about work, the justification of speaking about religion, everything is change. And
mhm,
I use with the people that usually listen, um,
mhm,
a phrasing that everything is a contradiction.
mhm,
Everything that you know at this point in time is a complete contradiction, because
mhm,
the value in which you used to arrive there with, that's
mhm,
gone. It's the
mhm,
vigor isn't there. The vigor
mhm,
and excitement that I spoke about is not there to do the normal things that we were doing previously,
mhm.
because we
So
see within our.
it
Yep.
is interesting to mention it here that I think I posed you the question earlier. The version of truth is also changing. Uh, uh,
Hmm.
okay, for instance, take the example of COVID-19. Earlier, we were told that it is not contagious. It is contagious. The whole world was locked down and shut down of businesses and financial havoc. We all know it. We all familiar with it. We have seen it. And later on, we were told we that it's not contagious anymore, and there's going to be another version later on in the future or in the upcoming days. Or it's one thing. It's just for one example. On the other hand, take an example of religion. Take an example of science. All of these things that were truth for the time being, and people used to fight over them. People used to even kill over them in the Middle Ages, or even now in some parts of the world, or the part of the world where I'm living, and people kill one another on belief, on on the faith, on different faith. You believe in something, you said something different, but reality is the version of truth has always been changing. So the division of society, uh, what caused the division of society? Not accept the change, not accept the change.
Well, the division of society was modeled by the writers of this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It was their intention to divide us to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they divided us as a population, they started to divide us as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
in disconnecting us with certain elements that we all require to maintain a connection with source, a connection with planet, a connection with love.
Mm-hmm.
And the storyline did do that, and is continuing to do that every day. And for those that no longer fit the mold of design by the architects of the storyline,
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that are the misfits. They're the ones, the square pegs, the round holes, the ones that are the lower quality of society.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it was deemed within that storyline, because they could not get, or they could not adjust to what was required
Mm-hmm.
within the new narrative. And the new narrative is what I'm talking about, what we've done for the last 46 years, and the
Mm-hmm.
last in my life, and the last 200 years, the last 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a contradiction. Knowing that COVID was planned to come out to actually deteriorate the whole fiat currency system when it was already broken.
Mm-hmm.
It was just to continue to spiral down to the point of destruction, that everything that we now owned and we made as our material claim to living a successful life depleted, means
Mm-hmm.
nothing now. Yeah, because there is an ulterior motive to all of this,
Mm-hmm.
that they want to remain within control.
Mm-hmm. So the purpose of division of society or division of people is to control the world and control the resources of the world, and that's how the system works, and that's how the society works, and that's how you control they use it's just one COVID. There has been many COVIDs over time. There have been different names. First, it was 9/11. It was COVID. It was home security. It was terrorism. 90s. It was socialism, communism, or it has been different COVIDs in different times. But the purpose was same: is to divide and conquer the people.
Oh,
Divide and
exactly.
conquer.
It's keep them in the pigeonholes.
Hmm.
Yeah, send people to war for
Hmm.
stories that were never wars.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have always been the oh wow, there's that movie with all of those actors, the Expendables. We have always been expendable.
Hmm.
Right up until now, we still go in to pharmacy, or we still go into medical institutions and ask to be healed, but we get
Hmm.
given a second grade quality thing that doesn't do anything of justification for the healing in which we require, but it does other things to the things that we didn't need healing by the
Mhm,
destruction of them. So
mhm,
the consideration of what we have as a value to
mhm,
when our name is attached to the system is nothing.
mhm,
There's no value whatsoever. That's why it is so disheartening to give it any credit or validity that it's worth existing. When we come back to the element of who we are and what our design is, I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to speak ill of anybody, because when I speak ill of anything, it lowers my
mhm,
vibration.
mhm.
Justifying,
Okay.
yep.
We have been talking about the change and the control, and now the question is that the very question comes to our mind that our time here on Earth is very limited. Our existence on this planet is compared to nothing if you compare is nothing if you compare it with the rest of the universe. The universe is so vast and so big that we are almost nothing, and our time here on Earth is nothing. Now the question is that what's the point and what's the purpose uh, of dividing and conquering and manipulating and greed and all of these things that we see it in our society that is dividing all of us. What's the point? All of it.
Well, obviously it's control. And when there's control, and control is the overarching part. So then you have to look further, and that's the question that you're asking. And when a person's got control, or an organization or an institution has got control, and they've got 7.8 billion followers, okay, there needs to be some extraordinary actions take place that they remain within control. Now, you spoke about our life is a short time. Yeah, we consider that as the life that we carry physically. But Ahsan, I can tell you that you've lived 1,000 lives in this timeline, at least 1,000 lives, as every one of us have. And every one of us that have shifted from that understanding of where we came from to where we are now, and that there is so much more than we do not comprehend. It is there in abundance when we sit in silence and don't try and seek it. It arrives within our intuition, within our ingrained narrative. And then you appreciate the 1,000 lives that you have lived, Ahsan, to know that you have done everything in those lifetimes to be the person that you are now. That is an advocate of change.
You said you have lived 1,000 lives. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Okay. So the reason as to why we are here, and the reason as to why there are many that are different in the way they look, color, culture, is because we originally come from the many planets around the solar system, around the universe, and we are all here together to do the one thing that we've been speaking about: change. That the paramount inclusion of each and every one of our unique stories from today onwards is about love, and the consideration of the value of love. And as you do that more and more, you then consider how explosive love is. And you just have to look at the sun to go, oh, wow, yes, the sun shoots balls of fire out to us, and it's creating the element of life on this planet. So if we appreciate that that is love in its intention, we only have to do that. And that does nothing. That rises every day in the east and sets in the west.
So you
The
mean
cycle.
we have to change our perspective of our mindset of the thing, of the lives, of the universe that we are seeing and we are perceiving it. That the sun is giving us life, is the reason of life, is providing us warmth, is providing us energy, and it is absolutely right. Uh, it is the perspective, you mean to say.
Well, it is. It's our perception. And it goes to religion to say, oh, we have to pray to a God that is a deity that doesn't live here anymore.
Mhm.
Okay?
It is also perspective.
It's also a perspective, exactly.
Right.
And when you rationalize a new perspective and you say, okay, God is an acronym and we are the gift of divinity, God, gift of divinity. And that's all we have to embody within ourselves to be the Jesus that walked the planet, to be the Buddha, to be the Allah, to be all of them prophets. Because they were all men and women that walked on a journey of life and found salvation when they loved themselves and was able to experience what it meant to touch a tree, what it meant to walk in peace and not consider the storyline that is going on elsewhere around you. It's not considering it, it's completely acknowledging it exists, and it's a lesser worthy quality than where you find yourself any given day. And the
So,
appreciation that you are that,
mhm.
that's astronomical. That's astronomical.
So how to deal with change is to accept the accept the change that that is happening, or that has happened, or is going to happen. You have to accept it because you cannot do anything about it. Is it
Oh,
is
you can
the
do something about it. Fight it. You can
Mhm,
fight it, but the
mhm,
universe is setting it up, Ahsan, that you are only fighting your own
mhm,
well-being.
mhm.
because what the universe wants and what this vibration around the planet, the Schumann resonance is spiking with a higher vibration, a higher consciousness. All it's wanting you to do is step away from the trees and the forest that you find yourself in to actually sit at a tree, connect and see everything that's available to us. Not from a physical monetary gain, but from an empowerment of self in a system that really didn't allow empowerment unto yourself. The business proportions of the establishment were always ego driven. So we were stepping on brothers and sisters to accomplish our goals. That you can't survive in a civilization like that, because that is another form of division. That is another form of enticement. There is another incitement, another form of degradation to your own self and your family, your circle. We're all family. We're all the same.
So you
Many
can,
things.
when you cannot accept the change, you are fighting with yourself, with your own, uh, uh, with the vibes of the universe that are setting you up.
Yeah, correct. Your own understanding is limited by you exaggerating the fight against why it's all happening. Yeah, justification is a huge thing that we've always had to comprehend in our own journey, because it's an action that we're going to take. And within an action that we're going to take, now we need to consider where we're going to be left after that action. And shifting the perception, as you said, Ahsan, it's only to include yourself in the story as you shift your perception. The perception that you're shifting is to take it away from the story that you thought was the truth that is being fed to us through all of them different media forms, and then bring it back to an alliance that sits humbly with you, that you've got a clearer understanding that there is no confusion, and it is you that gets you out of this by simply shifting your vibration to the place where you find the most joy. And we can all find that.
Shifting your vibration and flowing with the with the vibes of the universe and with the
Correct.
energy of the universe, and shifting and also accepting the change and changing
That's
your
exactly right.
perspective.
And
So
don't
if you
try
have
and think it.
and
Don't try and
many
think it in your mind. Don't try and find the answer in your mind. Sit within the heart space. The heart space will never lead you wrong, because it considers every element of you. It just doesn't jump off the pier to get wet. The heart will say, oh, well, yeah, okay, the tide's out. It'll be cautious. It'll take the due diligence in respect for you as an identity. The brain doesn't do that. The brain always flips you over, tips you up, trips you up, because of the actions in which it allows you to go down. There's a lot of pain when you travel through your mind, when you lead from the mind. There is a lot of pain to live through. And a lot of us have seen that. The system didn't allow love as abundance within each and every one of us, Ahsan. That's the thing, that one of the things that they took away. Finding that now is amazing to the individual, because then they can actually see the journey in which they've taken and feel humbled by it, because everything happens for a reason.
everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
What about time? What times happened? The time that we became friends, and the time I joined the group, and I met Gary, I met Edward, and many other people. So there is a time. So the question is, if there is a time, how do we know it? Or it's just to keep moving with the flow. Whatever happens, whatever life brings, whatever the ties of life it brings, you have to just accept it and shift your perspective and flow with the vibes and energy of the universe.
Oh, exactly. But
Mhm,
when you said about timing,
mhm,
um,
mhm,
we're there now in this time.
Mhm.
And as time is one component, there are many
Mhm.
other facets to that element of time, because the
Mhm.
story has established the moment of time. The
Mhm.
story has established the management of time. But
Mhm.
in conjunction with all of that, and what the universe has sent in accordance, is that
Mhm.
the storyline is changing every day as a new storyline as being threaded through the fabric of existence.
Mhm.
And this is this communication, Hassan. This is the
Mhm.
communication that you had with Gary, with everybody else. Those that are speaking
Mhm.
about change to the proportions of innocence,
Mhm.
not the degradation of protests around the world because of vaccines and lockdowns and everything like that. We've
Mhm.
all had bad girlfriends. We've all had bad boyfriends. We've had
Mhm.
we've had relationships that have broken. Okay, so
We have
like that,
we have been through different career change. We have been do a different change of jobs, change of career, change of
exactly. And
employers, and
as
Mhm.
change has been part of our life, it's easy then to shift the perception and adjust it accordingly to the value of you.
Mhm.
Nobody else, the value of you now. Everybody else is to look after themselves. The rest of the planet has the same opportunity, Asan, as you have been given to shift your
Mhm.
perception.
Mhm.
And when you can validate that in your own existence, then you
Mhm.
just don't try and talk about the story of COVID no more, and you only exaggerate the element of love that comes from you. And it's not
Mhm.
exaggerate, amplify the element of love that comes from you, because the rest
Mhm.
of
And
it
share it.
is
Most importantly,
exactly.
share the love, the
Mm-hmm.
uh, the peace and love that comes to you. You should share it and ask the other to share the same thing with the other. So it should like a chain reaction. It should flow. It should flow like a chain reaction.
Well, it is the virus, isn't it? The virus that they've
Yeah,
been speaking about. The
yeah,
moment that people and the hardest thing is men understanding and justifying love
mhm,
in something outside of a sexual connotation.
mhm,
Yeah, men haven't really solidified an existence of love within to talk
mhm,
about it at a level of two men openly. It's
mhm,
something that's always sat silent and never
mhm,
developed or flourished to the capacity of what it truly should be, because the ego division was already in there, maintaining a large proportion of the male's existence, because that
mhm,
was where the chase was designed
mhm,
to achieve the goals that you put upon yourself, or what the goals that they put on you.
mhm,
And love is not, love is a bird, love is a butterfly, love is a tree just blowing in the wind, because it's not
mhm,
anything other than what it is. It's not doing
mhm,
anything other than what it's designed for. And that's
mhm,
love, because the planet is just pulsing love every occasion, every moment of the day. And we
mhm,
don't rationalize that, because science does not condone that. It doesn't accept that. It's not plausible that an
mhm.
energy like is love, and love is abundant within all. No one's ever going to say that. The moment they say that on any media forum, my God, the
Mhm,
whole world stops.
mhm.
The whole world
So
stops.
we have very good comic view. Check it out.
The sun glinting through the trees is beautiful.
Yes.
Adrian, you must go for a walk in nature.
Uh-huh.
Lie on the grass, look up, see divine, feel it. Exactly. I don't
And
worry, I do
no,
that.
no, I think I think the comment is for me. Assan, you should go out. You must go for a walk in nature, lie in the. Oh, I love nature. I love walking in the nature. I love walking. I go for a walk sometimes with some people, like-minded people. They join me in the country at evening or the time is here in morning. It's still dark when it's sunny, uh, just like Adrian the sun has. When we have a bright sun, I'll definitely go for a walk. And I'm thinking about making a short video of different places on my countryside, and I'll share it with you guys. And
Yeah,
but
you
the
were out yesterday. I seen your video yesterday, Hassan, with the
yeah,
at the river, at the lake.
mhm,
At the lake. That was a beautiful video that you presented. So yeah, and that's the connection. That's the connection of all of this. Um,
mhm,
and engaging with your circle, your inner circle, and the
mhm,
inner circle then becomes greater because that love and that joy is felt
mhm,
as a vibration. Or
mhm. I think Adrian has just disconnected. And if you have any questions, I think it's been an hour, and usually we do session for an hour. And Adrian, I think he has just joined us. And
I got a fly land on me, one of those flies that bite, and I quickly went like that and shoot it away and pushed the button with my thumb. So I'm sorry. I
okay, no
apologize.
problem. Okay, no problem. I think it's been an hour, and we have a very interesting discussion
Yeah,
about change. How to deal with change is to accept it, is to shift your perspective, is to flow with the time. Is the time that we have been here, and it's just a physical body, as you said, and thousands
exactly.
of
And the
lives.
time is the
Speaking of time, I think we have to do one more live on time, because I've got very good, very important questions and many things to discuss on time, because
okay.
time is very interesting, and we'll do it next week or any other day whenever
Yep,
it's suitable. And
no problem.
about how to deal with change is to shift your perspective, is to flow with the time and accept the change and discuss it and hear it and share the love is the love virus. And
Hmm.
you have any questions, just leave it in the comment box below, and I'll answer to you. Adrian will get back to you as soon as he
Yep.
can. And thank you, and have a good day, good night, or wherever you are.
Oh, same to you, sir.
Uh,
Thank you so much for the invite.
uh,
And I just want to add to that.
mhm,
If this conversation with the listeners actually entice them to get excited about change, the first
mhm,
thing to consider is to be gentle on yourself. Okay. Firstly, be
mhm,
gentle on yourself as you're now shifting a perception. The
mhm,
value in which you find at this point in time is pertinent,
mhm,
absolutely pertinent for you to justify this change. And it's okay.
mhm.
If you've got any questions, certainly shoot them through, and Ahsan and I will answer 'em. I'd love to do
Okay.
another video with you, Ahsan, about
About
time.
time.
That would be
About time.
perfect. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, and have a good day, good night,
Thank you,
or
sir. You have a
evening.
great night.
Okay. Bye.
See you, everybody.
Okay.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Love you too.
Bye.